All right, we are now through match day 2 for all teams at CAF MU20. And we're, of course, going to talk about it because what else will we do? Let's talk what we've learned so far. So outside of Group A, where 2 teams have played 3 games, because there's 5 teams in that group, everyone has played 2 games, and the groups look like this. Sierra Leone and Egypt are atop Group A with 7 and 4 points respectively. South Africa sits in third with 3 points. Zambia with 2 draws, and then Tanzania with no wins are at the bottom of that group. Group B, you have Morocco and Nigeria tied with 4 points each, with Tunisia with 3 points, and then Kenya sitting with no points. 2 good performances, but nothing to show for it. And then we have in Group C, DRC sitting with 4 points, along with Ghana sitting with 4 points, with Senegal sitting with 1 point, and Central African Republic sitting with 1 point as well. Let's talk about the matchups that we've seen in that match day 2 to 3. Right now, I think the story of the tournament is Sierra Leone, who have not lost the game. 2 wins and a draw so far, their latest coming from a Saturday tilt, 1-0 over Tanzania, 1-0. That's the only goal scored on Saturday, which made it a very fun game. Goal scored by Samuel Gandhi in the 37th minute. Sierra Leone are the surprise of this tournament so far. They've really been performing well. Sierra Leone with broad spread in terms of their scoring. So with that 1-0 win with Gandhi today, they're looking good right now. 7 points. Bar a collapse, they are qualified already. Actually, it is set. There's only a team can draw them. They are moving forward, definitely. So we have one team that's moving forward. Then we have the other game was Zambia going 0-0 versus Egypt. That game was a game where opportunities were sitting there, but unfortunately Zambia weren't able to get it. A draw doesn't eliminate them, but it keeps them alive. Egypt, however, with that draw, keeps them alive for qualifying as well. But they certainly do need a win. Any other wins will leave a loss in their next 2 games, in their next game actually, which will be against Tanzania, will leave them at risk of falling out of the competition altogether. And as the hosts, you want to make sure that they make it through. So how you have matches on the 6th and the 9th. On the 6th, you have Sierra Leone versus South Africa. I think that's going to be a very tight game. And then Zambia versus Tanzania. Tanzania not out of it fully. However, it's getting late early for them. I think those games tomorrow will set a lot of the course of how we look at the final day for Group A. We get to Group B. Morocco, Nigeria, Tunisia, and Kenya. Kenya, to me, have played the best games just from watching. Unfortunately, they haven't been able to put it together. Kenya went up with Uma with a goal in the 30th minute, but then Tunisia scores in the penalty at the end of the first half, and then Ben Ali and Derbali scoring in the 70th and the 85th minute. Tunisia on top there, meaning Tunisia stay alive with that win. But with that loss, it eliminates Kenya. I think Kenya will be a difficult out for any team. It does make it a little bit easier for, say, Nigeria, who walk into their final game on the 7th with Kenya, knowing that they need a win. They certainly need a win. A draw won't eliminate them, but it will come down to what happens with the other games. Tunisia and Morocco playing, a draw will send both of those teams on. Well, yeah, a draw will send both those teams on, definitely, just because of goal difference and goals scored. Nigeria only has 1 goal scored, so Nigeria would need either a high-scoring draw, but ultimately they need a win. And I think against a team like Kenya, I think they can certainly get that going, especially how Kenya's looking. It'll be a fun game. I can see that game ending 3-2, 4-2 in that type of range for Nigeria. But if they're not careful, it could be a high-scoring draw. But we'll see if the Kenyans can do anything with that. Group C, DR Congo versus the Central African Republic. They played that game 3-1 for DR Congo. Makanza with 2 goals in the 42nd and the 50th minute, with Lukisa scoring in the 59th. But then Central African Republic started the scoring off in the 10th minute. CAR aren't out of it, but they'll certainly need a big win against Ghana on the 8th. Ghana were able to defeat Senegal just recently. We just watched that game here. with Mensah scoring in the 15th minute, and this game was just effectively Ghana scored. Okay, we're defending this till our very last breath. Ghana had a few opportunities to put this game away during the game, weren't able to convert. Senegal had a few opportunities to get back in the game with a leveling score or strike, weren't able to do so. And with that, it leaves Senegal possibly in the knockout, sitting where they are. So here's what you need to know. Entering the final match days for the group, so the third games for every group, DR Congo and Ghana would just need a draw in their games and they would move on. That's in Group C. The third place teams right now are Tunisia, South Africa, and Senegal are all tied for third place sides, are in the third place slots. It's the top 2 third place teams, and that matters. So in Group C, a draw will save them. DR Congo plays Senegal. I think that game will bear a large balance. I think if Senegal beats DR Congo, which they are capable of doing, it makes the top 4 very complicated. If you're Ghana, you don't want to lose to Central African Republic. There's a possibility that Group C can end in a 4-4-4-4. I don't think it will. But especially if you are DRC or Ghana, get the win or at least a draw and you're breathing a lot easier. Don't mess with this game. Your next game, be up by 2 goals so you can breathe. In Group B, Kenya is eliminated. And so you only have really that matchup in their last game. So their last matchup is on the 7th, Kenya versus Nigeria, then Tunisia versus Morocco. I think that's the game of that group. Tunisia versus Morocco. A draw could see them both go through, depending on how you think that Nigeria versus Kenya matchup will go. I think Kenya can give Nigeria a bit of a match. I don't think they'll be able to pull through, but I've seen stranger things happen, so I'm not eliminating that possibility. Morocco versus Tunisia. I think Morocco will want to be on the front foot more in this game, which means Tunisia will have to defend and counter well. Are they able to do so? We'll have to wait and see. They're able to get a result against Kenya, and they fell to Nigeria. So I think Morocco versus Tunisia, that's the game for me. For Tunisia, where they are currently sitting, you'd want at least another point to sit a little bit better. They aren't fully out of it yet, but you'd want another point to feel a little bit better, but then you run the risk of other teams passing you. In Group A, Sierra Leone have already passed through. Egypt are already sitting well, but not through. It comes down to that next round of games for Group A here. The next round of games comes tomorrow, where you have Sierra Leone versus South Africa and Zambia versus Tanzania. If South Africa is able to get a result, any result here, they open the second spot up for a run. Even a draw keeps them alive. With Egypt playing Tanzania there, Egypt would need to keep pace with South Africa, so keep the distance the same or widen it. I think a win versus Tanzania is not impossible in their final game, but then they'll be playing. Egypt will have a respite here, so Sierra Leone will have a little bit more of that rest with that game, so maybe they try to rotate players here, which means South Africa could be a little bit more alive here. So I'm looking for South Africa to have a big performance versus Sierra Leone, but I think Sierra Leone will keep it tight. Not that I think Sierra Leone is that much worse than South Africa, but I think Sierra Leone has the opportunity to rotate some players, get some rest, and I think that'll affect that result, which would mean heading to their final matchup, with Sierra Leone already qualified, you could have South Africa and Egypt still battling for that last spot with their matchups going on. Guys, let me know who you're rooting for. Let me know what you think. As always, I'm going to stop talking right here.